concepts. Let's turn now to this specific case in question. The handout gives you a little bit of the summary about the fact that a Phoenix man was injured in Rocky Point, and as a result of this injury, the man and his family sued Central Christian Church, sued Project Amore, and got a judgment for $5.9 million. Well, what was the story? Are any of you here familiar with Project Amore? Does that name ring any bells? Just a few hands. Project Amore is a mission based out of San Diego that set about trying to build low-income housing for the poor and disadvantaged in Mexico. As luck would have it, I actually was a chaperone on a Project Amore trip back in the 90s with my son when he was in junior high. And the idea is you would take people down to Mexico, and in 4 days you can build a house. I'd say we might think of it more as a shack. You're not allowed to use power tools. They meet you at the border with a truckload of wood, and this little 2-room shack has tar paper on the side and a flat roof, and literally you show up on the site in a slum, and they've cleared out a little spot, and then you pour the concrete the first day, and the next day you build the walls, and then you build the roof, and then the last day you tar paper it and stucco it. And when you leave, it has no doors, no windows, no plumbing, no electricity, but they do have basic shelter. So they've done over 10,000 of these houses down in Mexico, and they work in association with the local churches. Okay, that all sounds pretty good so far, right? So if you're on the committee of your local church, you think, gee, what a great idea. We could send our people to the border. The Project Amore people will meet us at the border. We'll all go down. They have a spot picked out. They've worked with the local church. What can go wrong? Well, here's what went wrong in this case. The other part of Project Amore's work is once in a while they will help a local community build a church. Well, in this case, they were building a church, and one of their guys, one of their volunteers, was on the roof, stepped on a board that broke, fell through the roof, landed on his back, and sustained serious injuries. Here's the problem. As you get into the background, I don't know that this part of the background is in the story. I called the lawyer who handled the case for Central Christian, the defense lawyer, and talked with him about the case. And Central Christian had not checked with Project Amore to make sure they had a proper certificate of insurance. They had liability insurance for their property in San Diego, but no coverage for anything in Mexico. Well, you can see why that would be a problem. So before we go to the next slide, though, let me loop back around and point out why this is such a big issue. At the top of the slide, you see it says KTAR. So when I was preparing for the presentation, I asked my secretary to go on the web and Google this case to see what kind of commentary had happened. First thing that pops up is the KTAR blog. So what you got here on the box on the right is the commentary by the bloggers upon hearing this story. And here's what one of them said. Has anyone seen their church in Gilbert? It's absolutely enormous campus. You could have a community college there. Now they want to play poor? Guess what? Let's force them to sell the building or the land it's on. Let's attach their assets. You cannot tell me that a church like that gives out as much as it takes in, even under our very liberal 501c3 tax laws. I mean, this blogger obviously has no clue about what churches are about, what we're doing, why we're doing it. But how about if that guy is one of your jurors when the church happens to be sued? You can see the problem. So I thought this cartoon pretty well summarized the issue. Look, I'm not blaming you, I'm just suing you. Well, and that's what essentially happened in the Project Amore case. As the defense attorney explained, Project Amore's attorneys decided their best defense was to blame Central Christian for negligently managing the construction process. Well, wait a minute. Project Amore's built 10,000 homes, has a video that explains how to do it, and was in fact supervising the building of the church. How does that work out? I doubt if the Project Amore leadership was endorsing what their defense counsel was doing, but since they had no insurance coverage for it, they basically took the attitude of any port in a storm. Not only that, they were extremely uncooperative in producing evidence which included photographs of the site. It was from a legal point of view, it was an absolute train wreck. And in fact, the case is on appeal, and according to the attorneys, at least for the church, the case may very well be reversed on appeal. But it highlights to us as managers of a church or of a parachurch ministry the fact that even well-intentioned people like Project Amore can lose control of the situation when it gets into litigation and the defense attorneys take over, and especially if there's no insurance. So you can see how easily and why we have put such emphasis on being concerned about uninsured, under-insured, or uninsurable claims.